Go, yeah. Your bumper is a magnet. I stick on like a magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic. Join Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, Thursdays at 1. Walk through the sands with poetry from our great leaders and academics. Jive with us to soca, reggae, chutney, and calypso. Get your current cricket results, meet special guests, and more. Every Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time.
Run it! This one the hit, yo. Ladies Sarojini. Bless up everyone. This is Chad and Ben from Jamaica here representing for the host, Lady Sarojini with the Caribbean Connection Show. Hey, Panwa 93.5 FM CHMR 11.
That's a pardon me. I'm a criminal, so get on your searching. But let me tell you though, if you never know, I'm an island man with an African culture. No drugs, no in my bag.
When we dancing, hey, you are my king, I'm your queen. We don't let nobody in between.
Live from Toronto, this is DJ Eruption. You're listening to Sarojini from Caribbean Connections. Peace out.
Then you hold my bumper and grind slow.
Welcome to Caribbean Connections. And we also would like to welcome you to our second episode of Celebrating Black History Month. We want to thank you for staying with us here, and a special welcome to those of you listening on the island of Newfoundland and in Labrador, in Toronto, Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary, Vancouver, and along the Sunshine Coast, Roberts Creek, Maple Ridge, and crossing over to Berlin, Germany, New Delhi, India, Nigeria. And of course, a very special welcome to those of you listening from the coastal city of Dar-es-Salaam in Tanzania. And not forgetting our friends in the Caribbean, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Belize, the Bahamas, and of course, New York, Connecticut, and Washington, D.C. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. And we're going to move right into our program here, celebrating Black History Month. Let's open up today's episode with Declaration of Rights by Abyssinians.
Brought us to slave in this big plantation.
away from civilization, brought us to slave in this big plantation, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way, it's worse than hell, I say. Get up and fight for your rights, my brother. Get up and fight for your rights, my sister. Get up and fight for your rights, my brother. Get up and fight for your rights, my sister. Get up and fight for your rights, whoa, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights.
We have a recorded interview where we had a really great chat with Baraka Abayo, who hails from the coastal city of Dar-es-Salaam in Tanzania. Bara came to study here in St. John's, Newfoundland, to pursue his Bachelor degree of Commerce. He stayed on, he came in 2015, and he's been here ever since. But his second passion is his music. So let's hear it from the one and only Baraka Abayo. Welcome to Caribbean Connections, Baraka. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, Sarojini. I'm very happy to be here. Very humbled that you've invited me in as your guest today. And I'm looking
Our
forward to having a
pleasure.
chat.
Oh, listen, our pleasure. And I know we're going to have a wonderful conversation. We want to make it relaxed. We want to make it cool. So no need to be nervous. We're a great bunch of people here, and we like to have fun, and we want you to have fun. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to tell your wonderful story. I can't wait to tell it. So without further delay, we are going to delve right in. And my favorite question of all is, I know you hail from the coastal city of Dar-es-Salaam in Tanzania. So why did you come to the beautiful island in Newfoundland and Labrador all the way in the North Atlantic? Tell us why.
A sense of adventure, I'd say. I come from a big city, and I didn't really want to sort of experience the same kind of life going through university. I wanted to experience a different type of community, a smaller community. And it just so happened that there was a memorial rep at my high school, and she started telling me all about Newfoundland and Man, and I had friends that I knew that were here, but I had never really gotten into the nitty-gritty, the specifics of the place. And I was sold on the pitch. It was really great. The conversation I had with the representative and checking up with my friends was also really reassuring. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pack up my stuff and move across the pond
Oh,
to
wow.
Newfoundland for studies. And so far, so good. I have not regretted it.
That's a very big move. And I know from our previous discussion, you came in 2015. So I'm
right.
curious, I've never been to Tanzania, and I've been to other parts of the world, but not to Africa yet. So I'd like to know what time of the year you came here and how long was that flight? That's a long ways away from home, my dear friend.
Oh yeah. If you're lucky, you'll get a 29 to maybe 32-hour flight if you're lucky,
Ooh.
including layovers. But the first time I got to Newfoundland, it was in September. I remember it was September 7th, 2015.
Ooh.
And I was in for the biggest shock of my life. So I remember when you get to the airport in St. John's, there's the stairs that go down to the main lobby where you can get out and get your cabs and all that. And so coming out from the plane into the airport, I was like, oh, the air conditioning in here is really, really strong. And then I go down the stairs and the doors open, and then the temperature doesn't change. I'm like, oh, what have I gotten myself into here? So the first couple of trips were definitely for thicker sweaters and winter jackets and all that. But it was good. It was
Yes.
good. It sparked my sense of adventure. I definitely felt like I was on another planet. And I still feel like I'm in another planet. Every time I go back to Tanzania and come back here, I'm like, these are two worlds apart.
Yes. And what time of the year was that? Was fall, right? September
That
7th,
was
you
the fall.
said.
Hmm.
Wow. Did you have some friends waiting for you? Because you said you knew a couple people in Newfoundland. So were there folks there to help you at the beginning at the airport?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There was people that had already been going to MUN, some of which had or were actually in my high school. So friends of friends, and I came down and met them. Those are really big. There is a really big Tanzanian community, so that really helped me sort of like adjust. You know, we'd get together and have barbecues and dinners and get-togethers and hang out. So it kind of helped with the homesickness a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a blessing for sure to sort of integrate and assimilate into Newfoundland, but also have a little bit of home around to help alleviate the homesickness.
Yes, I know. And you know what? We've called Newfoundland home as well. We've lived in other
Mm,
parts of Canada and we've been here several years. And I could
mm,
relate to you and empathize with trying to get that home feeling. And I find you don't miss home right away, but as you're settling in, there are certain things that will remind you, and you tend to feel a little sad and miss it. I'm sure you were getting those feelings.
yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like once it stops being a shock, like so much of a shock from changing your environment, you're like, oh, okay, so now I'm in. It kind of dawns on you that you're like, oh, I'm away from home. You know, my family's not here. In my case, I didn't have my family here. And
Yes.
yeah, but you know, I'm lucky. I had a great support system around me. My friends were really great. I lived on residence, which was really great and helped me
Hmm.
adjust to, you know, a different culture, a different sort of like world, really.
Hmm.
And all in all, it was a fantastic experience. Yeah.
How was life on campus, Baraka? I mean, Newfoundland is only 500,000 people, the entire province, and
Mm.
the St. John's area and surrounding a little bit is about 25,000. What is the population of Dar-es-Salaam?
Oh, definitely in the millions. I'll tell you that. Probably around, I reckon 7, maybe to 8 million. Last time I checked,
Wow.
I'm not too sure, but it was a big change. Yeah.
That's actually more than Toronto and the greater Toronto airport area. 8
Yeah,
million
it's
in
very.
Dallas. So did you
Mm.
find that maybe the smaller population was a bit easier to handle, say, as opposed to someone who may leave Newfoundland to go to Toronto or Vancouver? It might be a shock where you were coming, yes, climate-wise, it was in culture, but the population was smaller. Did you find
Mm.
that was a bit helpful?
I found, yeah, I found it was helpful in that it was sort of like, I wouldn't say necessarily easier to make relationships, but like you kind of saw the same people around. My friends and I had this joke that if you just leave your blinds open in your living room in Newfoundland, somebody who knows about is gonna walk across your street and you're gonna see them. So,
Yeah.
that did happen multiple times, things like that, where you can just open your door and say hi to somebody that you know. And
Yes.
in that sense, it was really helpful in terms of adjustment because the sense of community is so great here. I've
Mhm.
also lived in Edmonton, and I can tell you it is not the same, not the same
Mhm.
at all.
Oh, you've lived in Edmonton.
Yeah, yeah. I was on
Oh,
a work term there for 8 months, and
yes.
I love the city. I love Alberta as a province. But in terms of community, I definitely felt the difference between being in a big city and being in a place like Newfoundland or St. John's that's really small.
Mm-hmm. What do you
Mhm.
mean, but different? Do you mean there's more of a friendliness here, more of a warmth? Do you mean you can get around better?
Exactly.
In what way?
Hmm.
You can tell us a couple things that it would be different or it was different.
Yeah. So um, a lot of people that you walk by will say hi to you. the cab drivers are very, very chatty, very conversational, more often than not. And it just has a very homey feel. Every time somebody asks me if I've stayed like if I'm staying in Newfoundland or I decided to stay in Newfoundland, I always say, "Oh, it's worked its charm on me," and I say that in jest, but it's very true. There's something about this province and something about St. John's that is just very welcoming and very warm. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I can't even really explain it, but it's a feeling thing.
Yes, no, and I can relate, and I know a lot of our listeners, or some of them that are listening, would be able to. These are relatable points. Many of
Mm,
us have come to Newfoundland to say study or work or both, and
mhm,
then some of us decide to make it home. I
mm,
remember one gal I interviewed a few years ago for Black History Month. She says,
mhm,
I'm a Newfoundlander by choice because, we had gone through the stage where everybody who came from abroad, they finished their degrees, and then you see a mass exodus of all these people going away.
mm,
And she is now in her 30s and she came to do her undergrad and then eventually a master's, and she still is here. And she says, people ask me, why did you stay? Why do you want to stay? They sort of say in a way expecting her to say, I'm leaving. But she says, I'm a Newfoundlander by choice. I chose to stay
mm,
here. And I get that same feel from you. And I know you told
mhm.
me you graduated in 2020. So we
That's
knew
right.
you had a lot of challenges at university. So tell us
Mhm.
some of the things that you experienced and that led up to your graduation. What would you like to share with us, Baraka?
Well, school was definitely challenging. I was in the commerce program, and I studied accounting at school, so that's what I have a degree in. But music has always been my passion. So through school, yeah, you try to keep your grades up, try to do your homework and go to class. But for me, anytime there was an opportunity to get out there and play music, get out there and connect with musicians and play unpaid shows, play out like it was all just like fun for me. So that was definitely a very unique experience to have here, where there's a very
Mhm.
big sort of live music like culture. It's very, very big here in St. John's.
Mhm.
And, I just happened to come across people who are sort of walking the same path as me, becoming musicians, becoming songwriters, and all throughout university. The most memorable person I'll never forget in my life, his name is Derek Graham. I met him in 2016. He came from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I remember when he moved into Barnes' house, people were telling me about this new guy, he's a musician. And they were like, oh, you'll be great friends with him, we're sure. And they were right. I became great friends with him. It's kind of been with me on my journey, and it's with me on my journey. Supporting me and all that. And I'm just grateful for things like that because through university is kind of where through life you make friends, but I feel like when you make a friend that is so near and dear to you in university and your friendship just lasts years and years and years, like that's just something that's very unique. Like you can't necessarily find those types of connections that easily. And I'm just
Yeah.
grateful to have experienced that.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Newfoundland is a very musical place. There's always someone
Mm,
playing music or some producer walking around. But like you said, this gentleman was from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So
hmm
is he still here or did he leave and you're in touch with him?
Yeah, he moved back to Winnipeg
Okay.
back actually in December, I believe, or November of last year.
Okay.
But we're still in touch. We still keep up with each other. We still FaceTime here and there. We play a bunch of video games together every now and then. So the friendship is still going on strong.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know when we
Mm.
chatted on the weekend, it was sad to hear that you did experience some racism at the university. And it
Mhm.
surprised you because back home in Dar-es-Salaam, this was, alien to you. It was sort of a foreign thing to someone to be racist. So how did you
Mhm.
navigate that?
Um, I don't necessarily think there's really any way I did navigate that. So I, growing up in Tanzania, and I knew of racism. I'd heard about it. Obviously, we have some colonial history in East Africa as well, Tanzania included. But where I grew up, and the time that I grew up, surrounded by people that looked like you, and racism just didn't fly. I could just like, if I had a racist encounter in my home or like in Dar-es-Salaam, I would just laugh about it and be like, you're absolutely out of your mind. Like, this is not going to end well for you. But here it's a little bit different where you're not, I don't want to say the odd one out in a bad sense, but like you're a minority. I had never necessarily used that term to describe myself, a minority. And it's shocking when you're an African new to North America, because you don't necessarily know how to handle it or feel about it. But I found in my experience that yes, while I did experience a lot of racism, a lot of ignorance and microaggressions and things like that, more often I came across good people. And so I was like, well, it's just the reality of the world that, some people unfortunately have a very misguided frame of thinking where they have prejudice on people based on just how they look and where they're from. But for the most part, I'd say my experience personally in the province of Newfoundland and St. John's has been positive. But I am aware that racism is an issue, and it is unfortunately continuing. And the best way for me that I think people can navigate that, or people like myself coming from Africa can navigate that, is just to have a conversation. Sometimes, and it's so weird because sometimes you can tell that somebody is racist towards you because you're ignorant or if it's malicious. I don't mind if somebody is curious about something or doesn't know something and asks. There's a certain level of respect that comes with that I perceive. It's like, oh, you respect me enough to ask about my culture and my background and whatever it is that is the topic of conversation. And I encourage that, because the more that we talk about these things, the more that society is aware of these things, the more we move forward to overcome them.
Absolutely. And I'm very happy to hear that you had more of a positive experience, and the folks that were treating you unfairly. And you're right. Some of it is ignorance. Some of it is fear. Some of it is not being aware of the individual or the country someone is from. That's why I ask these questions. You're from a place of 8 million people. St. John's is only about 25. And people don't realize that, the students coming here are coming from very large cities. They're coming across continents, oceans, all of this. And all you want to do is enjoy life, make it home. And I'm very happy to hear that you're feeling positive about things, regardless how bad, pardon me, how terrible they might be. Do you miss your family a lot? And when you do, what do you do, Baraka?
Oh, I miss them every day. And that's kind of like the burden of being an international student or an international or an immigrant, really. If you come from another place and your family is not with you, there's a space in your soul or in your heart that just can't be filled the same way. But you do things to kind of like alleviate that. I FaceTime my family every week, very often. I speak to them about what's going on in my life and try to keep that conversation going. Me and my mom make meals together sometimes over the phone. So I do these little things to kind of like stay in touch with home and make sure that, they know that I'm okay and they don't have to worry about me. My mother will always worry about me. That's what she tells me.
Yes.
But overall,
you have older siblings, correct? Are you the youngest? Yeah. Okay.
I am the baby of the house. Yeah, I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest.
Yeah,
and where are the others? Your other siblings, are they back home in Tanzania?
Yeah, they're back in Tanzania. I have 3 older sisters and an older brother.
Awesome.
So they're all settled in Tanzania.
Yeah. When last were you back home, Baraka?
That was last summer, August of 2022, and it was a trip that had taken 5 years to happen. Through COVID and school, and the commerce program is really rigorous, and the cost of just traveling home and coming back is so ridiculous. So after, I think it was the summer of 2017 was the before last summer that I was home. I told my
Mhm.
parents that, okay, let me just get through this degree. It's going to take three more years to finish, and then after that, I'll come back for a whole summer. So I did finish
Yes.
in 2020, and I did have plans to to go home, and then COVID happened. So it took a while for us to sort of get to the place where, we figured that out and people could travel and move. And then coming
Mhm.
out of university and into work, it was a big transition as well. You realize that you don't get summers anymore. You get, your 2 weeks, your 3 weeks. And yeah, but I'm very grateful that I had the chance to get back home last summer. I saw my parents and my family, my nephews and my grandmother as well. It
Ah.
was it was so it was so fulfilling. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy for you and rekindle that love you have and they saw you,
Hmm.
you saw them. And I always think it's such a good feeling when you see
It
someone in
is.
person. But your generation, you're very lucky that we have these forms of social media to connect, like Messenger,
Mm,
Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Skype, Zoom, all these things. So you connect more than, say, during my time, it was mostly a
mhm.
phone call or writing
Or
letters.
letters.
So,
Yeah.
well, you know what? We're going to switch gears a little bit here, Baraka, and we're
Okay.
going to move to your other passion, which is music.
Mhm.
Yay! Now,
Yes, ma'am.
pardon me, I missed that.
Oh, I said yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, okay. Now, after graduation in 2020 and in the middle of a pandemic, you decided to focus more on your music, which is, as we said earlier, a real passion of yours. Tell us a bit about the journey leading up to your love for music. And I know you mentioned that you joined the church choir when you were 6 years old and you got inspired. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so my journey with music has been a kind of a I look at it like I kind of laugh at it. So it started with church, and every time we go to church with my family, through the entire sermon, I would sleep. But when it's time to sing, I would just be alive. I loved it when the church sang. I was singing to the top of my voice. And there was something about being in that environment, hearing people sing, hearing, instruments that just lit me up. And I loved it. I didn't know what it was. I just ignored it. I was a child and didn't know um, how to sort of like feed that passion. And I didn't have necessarily an exposure to, like music classes or anything like that. But I joined the choir for a little bit. I think I was about maybe 6 to 10-ish around that time. I sang for a while and then I just stopped. I can't remember why I stopped, but I just thought I remember not being in choir anymore. And when I was 14, I picked up a guitar for the first time, and
Ooh,
it just changed my life forever, forever, forever,
wow.
forever. So through my teen years, I would learn covers of the songs that I love, the Enrique Iglesias songs, the Celine Dion songs, the Neo songs, like all that music that I grew up listening to and loving became things I wanted to play. And then I started dabbling into songwriting and stuff like that. And eventually I started bringing my guitar to school to get attention and stuff like that. In the beginning, it always was, oh, you want to play guitar so that, you get with the girls, because every kid
Ah,
wants that. Every kid wants that attention.
yeah,
But
of
I kept
course.
doing
Who
it.
wouldn't?
Right? Yeah. So I kept doing it, and I kept feeling such a great sense of fulfillment when I could sing a song from start to finish, perfectly. When I could write a song and be like, that sounds like a great melody. So I kept on, but it wasn't up until high school that I put out my first song on SoundCloud back in the day. And through friends and friends of friends that were also into the music production business had heard my music, and they were like, we're just gonna record you because this is really good for your age, and do whatever you want with it, but keep writing music. They encouraged me. And yeah, so I did that, and I got really positive feedback, and I kept going. I played talent shows. I helped with my high school's charity program that they were running. I wrote a song to support that, and the growth kept going, and I kept on with that energy until I was done with university. I sang and played everywhere I could. Kept practicing and honing my skills, kept learning with other people and from other people as well. And yeah, I've just never ever stopped. Even after I graduated, I didn't know what my life was going to be like. I had no idea. I still don't know what my life is going to be like. I'm still figuring it out. But I know for sure that music is one thing that I know will always be a part of my life because I resonate so strongly with it.
Of course, and I heard you sing at a beautiful party of one of our friends, and you were amazing. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
The performance was
Thank you
great.
so much.
You're welcome. And you had mentioned, oh, by the way, did you bring your guitar to Newfoundland or you left it back home?
I did leave my guitar back home, but when I got here, I got this little guitar. I gave it to one of my friends. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, I don't have it anymore. But I hope they're making good use of it. But as I kept going, I kept buying guitars. It's when you're a musician, you realize that becomes a problem. As you keep going, you keep wanting more guitars, more instruments, and more tools.
Yeah, I saw you with the guitar at the birthday party, though. Weren't you playing and singing as well at the birthday party?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Yeah, so that's
At
good.
Fatima's party, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's good you're still carrying on playing the guitar, even though your first one is still back home. You haven't stopped. You like it so much. I know that a lot of young kids, when they talk about wanting to go into music, mom and dad always say you have to do something that's real, that will bring you the income, and sort of like engineering or computer or business or something like this. So did they support your music?
They did not, and they still do not. But it's one of those things where I understand where parents come from. They grew up in a time where musicians, or the typical musician, looked very different and had a very different lifestyle to musicians today. So they worry about all the dangers sort of surrounding, this industry. But it's one of those things where when you're a musician, when you get into the industry and you can basically just do whatever you want. Like if you want to play music and be a professional musician, you can do that. You can do that professionally. There will be, peers that you definitely shouldn't get involved with. And I can say that's true with any profession. But for me, I understood where my parents were coming from in that they wanted security for me. They wanted me to have a future and have the stereotypical corporate job and just grow that way. But while I did take that path, I did study commerce. I do work a corporate job. I set myself in a position where I can still do my music, and they still object. They still don't support me, but I forgive them for that. I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's so important to me to do my best to chase my passion or to try my hand at doing something that I think is going to leave the world a little bit of a better place than how I found it. And that's what music is to me. It's a calling. It's a religion. It's spirituality. It's connection. Like Caribbean connection.
Yes, absolutely.
It's something that just lights up my world.
So, Baraka, when you were 16, you mentioned that you won a music competition. So, how did you feel, and did this inspire you to do more in music?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember the feeling of playing on stage, and I remember the night I played with my music teacher in high school. I told him that I needed his help to kind of like play guitar in the background with me, and it was a fantastic experience. The feeling of seeing the judges clap and celebrate, and your friends cheer you on, and my one of my biggest heroes is Ed Sheeran, and his whole thing of just him and a guitar. I felt like a superhero in many ways. I felt like, oh my
Ooh.
god, like, this is how it feels to be Ed Sheeran. So it definitely inspired me to keep going and to keep playing and to keep doing shows.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And at 16, this really means a lot. It's quite impactful at that age to win a
Yeah.
contest like this and to continue to do more in music. Um, when you decided to continue more in music, what were some of the challenges you faced at such a young age? Because mom and dad would had preferred you to go the regular route to study
Mhm.
business and all of that. What were some of the challenges you
Oh
faced?
god, the challenges. Oh, the challenge. That's a long list. So for one, it's the lack of support from people that are really close to you is definitely like one of them. You're I'd say also the need for practice. See, it's one thing to have talent, but becoming a good musician is not necessarily related to how talented you are. I could always sing, but it wasn't until I seriously got into the nitty-gritty of it. So, you try to train your voice, you try songs that are out of your range and stuff like that, purposefully
Hmm.
so that you try to get better. So there's always that challenge that you need to keep leveling up. You need to keep your skills honed and sharp. And another one I would say is learning the business of music while maintaining the integrity of you as a musician, because the business side of things is completely unrelated to how you can play a certain song in a certain way, right? That's how you drive your
Yes.
value. But to be, to grow as a musician and to keep moving up levels and to get to a point where you can sustain yourself, you have to
Hmm.
be aware of the business model. You have to be aware of who your customers are, who you're selling to. You have to be aware of what kind of music they like, what they
Hmm.
like about you, your sound, how you project yourself into the world. So I find it's very much kind of like it's kind of like any corporate job, really. Like you have to learn, though. You have to kind of like go through that training, and that
Hmm.
training for me and maybe even a lot of musicians is, yes, you get your practice in, you understand the business model, you understand how to progress that way and how to grow that and who to work with. So that is definitely another challenge that I had faced.
Hmm.
Uh, Late nights, many late nights is another
Oh
challenge.
my.
It's a profession that requires stamina, it requires execution and relentless pursuit. You have to keep doing what you do,
Yes.
even in times when it's just you're doing it because not even because you feel like it, but because it's something that at some point is going to pay off and it's something that you're passionate about. So
Yes.
we definitely have to be relentless in that case, yeah. And
Abs-
scheduling. Scheduling is also a very big challenge. Learn how to
oh,
schedule as a musician.
absolutely. You
Mhm.
know, you have slowly and steadily bursted onto the music scene right here in St. John's, Newfoundland, and
Mhm.
your repertoire includes pop, R&B, and some of your original music. What else can you tell us about your music and who inspires you the most?
Who inspires me the most? Right off the top of my head, Ed Sheeran pops up, John Mayer pops up, Neo. Neo is like one of those R&B singers that I got into when I was really young, and the sound of his music was just something that was very appealing to me. Um, and really, of recently, fellow musicians really inspire me because it's kind of like amazing to see other people do similar things to you, albeit the sound is different, the style may be different, but I really appreciate how technical my peers are, like people like Nick Girl, people like Derek Graham. You see these guys play for hours and hours and they play it at such a high level, with you anybody would be like, wow, right? So in many ways, my own peers inspire me. Ed Sheeran, John Mayer, Pop. I just these are people that I look at. I'm like, this is the pinnacle of music.
Yes, yeah.
So
Hey,
yeah,
listen, we all have our favorites, and the Grammys were just on a few days ago. So, some people love certain singers, others don't. So, they say to each his own. Now,
right.
you mentioned that while at university, you did some gigs and you sacrificed, your social life to take your music seriously and all of that. But also, you've made some notable appearances on media networks at the provincial and national levels. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so I've played. Wow, I've been lucky enough to play many stages. I've been interviewed at the CBC and played live in the studio. It was crossed up with Adam Walsh, is what I remember. Was very recent. I've played on Out of the Files on Rogers TV. Very grateful for these opportunities that are coming my way, and more than anything, like have these professionals sort of like believe in my music and show me the support that I honestly would never expect to get.
Hmm.
And it's just been a blessing. I've opened for Kellie Loder. Kellie is one of my really good friends. I consider them a
Wow.
really big influence as well in my music and how I conduct my business and stuff like that. It's been nothing short of a blessing to be in a
Hmm.
position where people are taking you seriously and people are listening and being like, "Oh, we want more of this, want more of your music." So it's definitely been a blessing.
Absolutely. Now, you met the producer Matt Dines as well. Is this the Matt that's from Winnipeg, or
No,
he
no,
lives
also
elsewhere?
yeah. So Matt Dines is based in Newfoundland. My friend Derek Graham is from Winnipeg, but Matt Dines is my producer and my studio engineer. He's a person
Ah.
that I'm working with at the moment, and we've worked together in Island Queen, and we're putting together this EP that is coming out this winter. And I can't wait to release it, Sarojini. It's something
Ah.
that I put a lot of effort and heart into, and it's a
Oh.
sound that I think a lot of people are going to resonate with and appreciate.
Hmm.
Yeah, Matt Dines is a genius. So the way that we have our workflow figured out. We're working together for the better part of a year and a half now. And
Hmm.
the process is I literally just come to him with a guitar and a song and I sing it and we sit there in the studio and we hammer out ideas until we find something that we like. And
Yes.
that might take 6 different versions of one song until we get to the seventh and we're like,
Wow.
this is it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much been the process with this EP.
Yes.
It's just a couple friends brainstorming in the studio with he's got his little pet husky named Rudy hanging out with us at the studio every time. And yeah, it's a process that I'm really grateful for.
Oh, that's fantastic. And to have such a good relationship with the producer, that could only work in your favor. Very beneficial. Um,
Absolutely.
I know you worked as a public accountant, but in 2021, you decided to switch jobs in
Mhm.
order to carve out a better niche for yourself, meaning
Mhm.
you want to have more time to focus on your music.
Yeah.
So, how is that going for you? And you're still working, I presume.
Yes, I'm still working my corporate job. Yeah, I started out. So after graduating, I started working as a public accountant or working in audit. And audit is fantastic in terms of the experience that you can get. I don't think there's many places that can come close, but the truth is that it requires sacrifice. Like if you want to level up in anything, you have to be giving something up. And for me, in my case, it was that I just didn't have time to do my music. I didn't have time to get out there and be social and do the things that you need to do to be progressing in music. And it wasn't great. It didn't work for me because I'm just so inclined to follow my passion. And so I kind of took the leap of faith and said, "Hey, I'm gonna step away from this because it's not really aligned with who I am and what I'm trying to do for now, and try my hand at, a job that allows a little bit more work-life balance, a little bit more flexibility, so that I can have weekends and certain evenings through the week where I can go to the studio and play my shows. And in many ways, it's allowed me to pursue this. And I don't know what the next 5 years is going to look like, but I know that it allows me to try. And at the end of the day, I think for me, that's a very big value for me, is that you have to try. You have to try at things that you really want to achieve. And if you don't achieve them, well, you've tried. Maybe there is a world that you achieve them 10, 15, 20 years down the line because you've already put in the work, but there's no way to go unless you try.
Absolutely. And I know you've got a very grueling schedule when it comes to your music. You're working 9 to 5, then you get a little break, you head straight to the studio, and then you could be there till about 10 at night, and then you come home and start the day again for your corporate job. So how is this working out for you, Baraka?
It's very rigorous. It's a very rigorous schedule. Like I said, scheduling is very big for musicians. You quickly realize if you want to work, if you want to sustain a 9 to 5, so pay your bills and progress in your career and, have more value or add value into your life that way, but also do something that you're passionate about, it requires a lot of sacrifice. For me, personally, it just so happens that being a musician also means that you're social. So it aligns with kind of like who I am. But, I understand that may not be the case for everybody. 9 to 5, I'm working, and then I get a bit of a break. Once a week, every week, I'm in the studio, no questions asked. I'm in there, I'm working on things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the only way you're going to get through that is to do that and put in the work. And you have to be religious about it. You have to be disciplined about it. It requires, like I said, you have to relentlessly pursue it. You have to try and try and try and try. And you have to, put your foot on the gas and say, I'm doing this because it's something I'm passionate about. It's something that has meaning to me. And it's something that I think has the potential to resonate with others and leave the world a better place. And so, it requires discipline. Some weeks it's 3, 4. It's like, I think it was last week and the week before that, I was in the studio almost every single day working on a project that I have been commissioned to do. And, when there's serious people that are commissioning you to get something done, you're like, okay, now is the time to really grind and put your head down and work. And so, it requires sacrifice and grit and determination and relentless pursuit, and it can only yield fruits.
I'm very happy to hear that because, as you said, you've got to make those sacrifices to get ahead. So well said, Baraka. And I know now you've been in Canada for 8 years, and you have 4 older siblings back home. You're the baby in the family, and here you are on the island of Newfoundland and Labrador. What I want to know is, do you feel like you're setting a good example for your siblings back home, finishing your studies, pursuing your passion? How do you feel about that to your older siblings?
It's kind of like, well, my siblings definitely support me a little bit more than my parents because their relationship is different. But I feel like in terms of how they look at me, although they may not necessarily agree with me, I know for a fact that they respect me. They respect the fact that I've done all I can in terms of, well, not all I can in terms of school, but I've gotten so far in school. I got my undergrad. But I got a job that I'm working, but I'm also doing this thing that I love. They may not understand it or agree with it, but they look at me and say, "You're crazy," but I respect that. So it's definitely positive feedback from my siblings all around. In terms of my peers as well, I think I'm, I would hope, I'm doing the right thing to inspire the next person or the next musician or the next artist to look at me and be like, he's doing something, He, might not know where you're going, might not know what the next 5, 6, 10 years might look like, but he's doing something, and I hope that moves someone to try. Again, that's kind of like my motto. You just have to keep trying.
Absolutely. We are soon going to come to the end of the program, but before we do that, what are some of words of advice for the younger generation coming up here in Newfoundland and Labrador, in particular, say, folks that are coming from abroad to go to school here, and they also have a passion for music or dance or art? What are some of your words of advice to them?
So, speaking as a musician, my first piece of advice is one, you have to relentlessly work on your art. Whatever you're doing, whether it's music, whether it's drawing, whether it's painting, could be a photographer, whatever it is, you have to wake up every day and do that thing to a certain capacity. You have to keep honing your skills so that you can progress to a level where you can sell your value. Basically, you can get to a point where this thing that you really love is something that can bring you some income and something that other people look at you and be like, yeah, that guy's a professional at that thing. So you have to practice relentlessly. That's my first piece of advice. Also, networking is very important. I personally, I don't think I'm the greatest musician ever. Like, I very much don't think of myself like that. But I'm very much in the position that I am today because I networked. You make friends, you make genuine connections with people, and they look at you and see what you do, and they believe in you, and they want to support you. And that's very big here in Newfoundland. I've gotten nothing but support, like, through the years that I've been here. And it's something that I really hope no one ever undervalues. It's important to have a network of friends, of a community that look at you and you're like, yeah, we know this guy. He's a musician. We support him. We go to his shows. We love the way he plays. We're friends with him. We sit together and enjoy a meal together every now and then. So that's really important to have.
Yes.
And another one that I think is very, very overlooked is save your money. You have to.
Yes.
This path is straining. And it can levy a very big financial burden. But when you try your best to, save a little money for rainy days, and, maybe it's to upgrade your tools, maybe it's to get a better guitar. I've gone through maybe 4 guitars. And it's, if I didn't save my money, being a full-time student, 5 courses every semester, you can't really buy the tools that you need to progress and buy the tools that you need to take your art from one level to the next. So your finances are important, and your micro habits that influence your finances are important. And it's very important to be cognizant of that. So that is my, I think, 4th and final tip.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you for that. Now, do you have a website or an email or any sort of contact information that you would like to share with our listeners if someone would like to get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be reached at brk.wav on Instagram or Baraka Music on Facebook. My email is brkmusicbookings@gmail.com. That is how I connect with my community there. For bookings, for any inquiries, anything at all, even if it's just to say, hi, I loved your episode on Caribbean Connections, I welcome all of that. And that is how I can connect with the people out there.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Well, Baraka, this has brought us to the end of our conversation. And on behalf of myself and Caribbean Connections, I want to thank you very much for giving us your time, coming on the program today, celebrating the 2nd week that we are celebrating here on the program for Black History Month. And we wish you continued success, not only in your corporate job, but in your music. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Roshni. It's been a very humbling experience to be on your program. I'm looking forward to the future and to future collaborations as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you around. All right.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode celebrating Black History Month. And next week, we have another great guest for you. So stay with us. Tune in again. We will showcase Chef Michael Collins, owner of the new restaurant in town here in St. John's, Newfoundland, Caribbean Corner. So right now, we would like to wish you a safe and happy weekend. Be kind, take care of each other, and we're going to have Barak's new single, which he actually released last year, called Island Queen, to take us out today. Bye for now, and see you next week.
When I get a little older, when I grow a little more, when I find all of the things you really needed, I will love you like before. When my promises are broken, with the laughter in your soul, all my actions will be words that I have heeded. I will love you like before. So I will learn every little thing, and I will win every battle I am in. You will have me as your champion, every dragon at my feet. I will conquer every land. I will be a better man for you, my island queen. When I've gone a little further and I've given it my all, when I look below and all I see is mountains, I will love you like before. And if I'm lucky, you will be there at that cliff on Signal Hill. I'll be nervous and my heart it will be pounding, but I'll love you like before. I will learn every little thing, and I will win every battle I am in. You will have me as your champion, every dragon at my feet. I will conquer every land. I will be a better man for you, my island queen. I will learn every little thing, and I will win every battle I am in. Baby, I will be your champion, every dragon at my feet. I will conquer every land. I will be a better man for you, my island queen. For you, my island queen. For you, my island queen.
Run it! This one the hit, yo.
Ladies Sarojani.
Bless up everyone. This is Jordan Ben from Jamaica here representing for the host, Lady Sarojani with the Caribbean Connection show. Hey, Panwa, 93.5 FM, CHMR 11.
Data, pardon me, I'm a no criminal, so get on your searching. But let me tell you though, if you never know, I'm an island man with an African culture. No drugs, no in my bag.
Yes, we're jamming with Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, 93.5 FM, CHMR.ca.
Hi, this is Vinod from New York City, and you're listening to Sarojini on the Caribbean Connections.
Your bumper is a magnet. I stick on like a magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic. Join Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, Thursdays at 1. Walk through the sands with poetry from our great leaders and academics. Jive with us to soca, reggae, chutney, and calypso. Get your current cricket results, meet special guests, and more. Every Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time.
Welcome again to the second portion of Caribbean Connections. And as you know, we're celebrating Black History Month all of February. We have interviews during the first half, and we've very carefully selected and curated a wonderful musical program here for you, and we hope that you will certainly enjoy it. So without further ado, let's start off today's program, part 2, with African Race by Abyssinians.
African race. We're proud, it's no disgrace. We're proud of the African race. We're proud, it's no disgrace. We're proud of the African race. We're proud, it's no disgrace. We're proud.
Young, gifted and black. Oh, what a lovely, precious dream. To be young, gifted and black. Open your heart to what I mean.
In the whole world, you know, there's a million boys and girls who are young,
Gifted and black. And that's a fact. Young, gifted and black. We must begin to tell our young. There's a world waiting for you. Yours is a quest that's just begun.
when you feeling real low. Yeah, there's a great truth you should know. To be young,
Gifted and black. Your soul's intact.
all young.
Young, gifted and black. Oh, how I long to know the truth.
There were times
When I look back, and I am haunted by my youth.
oh, but my joy of today is that we can all be proud to say to be young
Gifted and black is where it's at. Young, gifted and black. We must begin to tell our young. There's a world waiting for you. Yours is a quest that's just begun.
when you feeling real low. Yeah, there's a great truth you should know. When you are
Young, gifted and black. Your soul's intact. Young, gifted and black. Oh, how I long to know the truth. There were times when I look back, and I am haunted by my youth.
oh, but my joys of today is that we can all be proud to say to be young.
Gifted and black is where it's at. Is where it's at. Is where it's at. Is where it's at.
Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Big up the crew in the area. Still love you like that. No, no, we don't die. Yes, we multiply. Anyone press will hear the fat lady sing. Act like you know Rico. I know what Bo don't know. Touch them up and go. Oh, ching ching. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Still love you like that. Extraordinary. Juice like a strawberry. Money to burn, baby, all of the time. Caught the fate, it's me. Fate to cut the shit. Come juggle with me. See, every time. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Dial emergency number. Still love you like that. Na 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 na. celebrity man. I'm the lyrical gangster. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Still love you like that. No, no, we don't die. Yes, we multiply. Anyone test will hear the fat lady sing. Act like you know, G-Go. I know what Bo don't know. Touch them up and go. Oh, cha-cha-ching-ching. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Big up the crew in the area. Still love you like that. Na 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 na. Yeah, man. So what do it? Na 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 na. Right? Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Big up all crew bow ya. Still love you like that. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical danger. Big up the crew in the area. Still love you like that. Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. I'm a living, I'm a danger. Still love you like that. Hey. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da.
Yes, and that was Here Comes the Hot Stepper by Ini Kamoze. And prior we heard Bob and Marcia's Young, Gifted and Black. And kicking off today's session was African Race by Abyssinians. Stay with us, everyone. Don't go away. We'll take a quick break and we will be right back.
Hey, this is Rob Trainer from Blackwater Rising, and you're listening to CHMR FM 93.5, Newfoundland's only alternative.
This cage they built for me is unable to contain one newsman is free.
If you wake up this Sunday morning with no money in your pockets and a pounding in your brain, chances are you overdid it Saturday night. So tune in to 93.5 CHMR FM for your perfect prescription of medicinal music lovingly mixed to help ease the most wretched of post-Saturday night overindulgences. It's the Sunday Morning Hangover Cure, every Sunday, 10 a.m. and only on 93.5 CHMR FM. And if nothing else, it'll make it a little easier to get out of bed on a Sunday morning.
I'm lying here, I won't get up. The end is near, this is where it stops, and the ceiling over me is the last thing I'll ever see.
The Friday morning markout. 8 a.m. Newfoundland time or 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on CHMR 93.5 FM.
Here among my children, waiting for the world to end.
If you're a chronic nostalgic who loves the music of Newfoundland and Labrador, tune in to the Newfound Records Radio Hour on CHMR, Saturdays at noon. Join host Wayne Tucker as he shines a light on rare gems retrieved from the vinyl deeps and supplements the music of the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s with a generous sprinkling of history and trivia. Relive all kinds of local music, traditional, folk, country, pop, rock, and everything in between. So whether you're a sentimental old-timer stuck in that vinyl groove, or a newbie eager to hear hard-to-find roots music of Newfoundland and Labrador, tune in to the Newfound Records Radio Hour on Saturdays at noon, where the unexpected is the norm.
Don't give up the fight. Preacher man on time. Hey, it's Matt Davis.
I'm Jackson.
And I'm Matt Lang.
You're listening to Caribbean Connections with Sarojini at CHMR Radio 93.5 FM, Bell Alliance 787, Rogers Cable 942, and CHMR.ca.
Stand up for your right. Come on, get up, stand up. Stand up for your right.
You held me in your arms and made love to me. Yeah. You, my heart's desire. Your lips caress me. Your body possess me, and I'd keep you if I could. If time would stand still and leave us feel this way, you know what? I'll be satisfied being here with you. You set my mind on fire anytime you're near. My body and soul belong to you. Oh, don't ever say we're through. We're still in love on the side. Still in love on the side. You don't belong to me. I don't belong to you. Still we're together. If that's enough for you, it's enough for me. Your time is here, and you've got to leave and go home to your family. And your woman, she'll be waiting there for you. Oh, Lord knows there's no explaining the love we share. It's just between us two. You can't stay away from me. I can't stay away from you. Honey, we belong. And right now, we're still in love on the side. Still in love on the side. You don't belong to me. I don't belong to you. Still we're together. If that's enough for you, it's enough for me. We're still in love on the side. Still in love on the side. You don't belong to me. I don't belong to you. Still we're together. If that's enough for you, oh, it's enough for me.
Herb is the healing of the nation. It's here with a good vibration for all man and woman. See the Jamaican flag in at the window. That make me know where is the good vibes flow. I see a bright light shining in the window. Let me know that everyone is burning slow. weed, burn it tonight. Always of the herb, it's on my mind. Give me the weed any old time. Always of the herb, it's on my mind. Rolling papers all over the table. Reggae music is playing and setting a good vibes. Everybody is smoking and drinking, dancing, laughing and having a good time. Ganja weed, burn it tonight. Always of the earth, it's part of my life. Give me the weed any old time. Always of the earth, it's part of my life. We got to have it, so we want it. 7 days a week we smoking. We need so me bad and cool out one away. Never think I would live to see today. Plenty laughter, many of joking. Everybody just cool out, everybody smoking. Ganja weed, burn it tonight. Always of the herb, it's part of my life. Give me the weed any old time. Always of the herb, it's part of my life. Yeah, we need the herb, so we want it. We can't do without it. Ganja weed, burn it tonight. Always of the herb, it's on my mind. Give me the weed any old time. Always of the herb, it's part of my life. You know, herb is the healing of the nation, spoke by very nation, all over creation. Yeah, you know we said we need it. You know we want it.
Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey yeah, Each human being deserves a place to call their own. Yet so many have to journey far from home. Little children in the darkness all alone, seeking freedom. It's about time we break those borders down. There's too much segregation. We're all a part of one nation, yeah. We need to break those borders down. There's too much separation. We're all one in creation, yeah. How do you feel when you see those ugly faces? People of all ages locked up in a cages, without a home, much less salaries and wages, traveling for days in the desert to escape it, only to get denied by the ones that should have rectified. Now the people get desensitized to the refugees, them way unidentified, yeah. They deserve a place to call their own, yet so many have to journey far from home. Little children in the darkness all alone, seeking freedom. It's about time we break those borders down.
There's too much segregation. We're all a part of one nation, yeah. We need to break those borders down. There's too much separation. We're all one in creation, yeah.
After them selfish decision, we're the one who suffer most. Political violence and now all are with the ghost. The war and starvation, knife and hang up in our throat. Refugees overpopulation becomes the antidote. We deserve the earth as our home, life is worth a living. Mr. Willpower, please break all the borders down for the future children. Stone Boy and Kabaka say
they deserve a place to call their own. Yet so many have to journey far from home. Little children in the darkness all alone, seeking freedom. It's about time we break those borders down. There's too much segregation. We're all a part of one nation, yeah. We need to break those borders down. There's too much separation. We're all one in creation, yeah. What do you feel when you see those people starving, digging through the garbage while they living lavish? What if life was a school without no classes, learning from each other with no teachers or no bosses? Yet the system gets intensified, and all the cities getting gentrified. Poor people existence denied, but the Rasta man come here so to testify, yeah, that we deserve a place to call our own. Yet so many have to journey far from home. Little children in the darkness all alone, seeking freedom. It's about time we break those borders down. There's too much segregation. We're all a part of one nation, yeah. We need to break those borders down. There's too much separation. We're all one in creation, yeah.
That was Borders by Kabaka Pyramid and Stone Beway. Before, it was Jamaican Canadian living in Montreal and Ja Kada Ganja Weed. And opening up the segment was Carleen Davis and Stealing Love. Thank you for staying with us, but don't go away. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back.
Every second, someone flees their home due to natural disasters. The Arctic ice that regulates our planet's weather is vanishing. That means floods, famine, and more are on the rise. But there's a simple solution, and you have the right to know. My name is Parvati. Please join me in creating a healthy future with MAPS, the Marine Arctic Peace Sanctuary. Get involved at parvati.org, Parvati.org. It literally means the world.
Mothers, yours may be part of the 72%. Did you know that 72% of all Canadians with Alzheimer's disease are women? Take a moment, learn the 10 warning signs. Talk to the Alzheimer's Society. We can help, and you can help us. Visit alzheimer.ca and donate today.
A friendly reminder that there are other humans with thoughts and feelings. They should be respected no matter what size, shape, color, or gender. This public service announcement is brought to you by CHMR.
Hey everyone, it's Zach Snow from your Celtic Wake Up. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed all of our lives and the way we do our daily routines. It is a very challenging and stressful time for all of us. Are you looking for a show to escape from all of that stressful news? Well, the Celtic Wake Up is here for you. Join me Mondays from 8 to 10 a.m. for 2 great hours of Newfoundland and Irish traditional music. Start your morning off the right way with the award-winning Celtic Wake Up, bringing people together through these tough times. Only on 93.5 CHMR FM and online at chmr.ca.
Wake the village and tell everybody, man, woman, and picnic. It's folk song time. It's time to whine. Hey!
Welcome to Caribbean Connections, y'all. your weekly dose of Caribbean vibes featuring poetry, cricket commentary, special guests, and more. Don't touch that dial and stay tuned for 2 hours of great Caribbean programming.
Morning, morning, neighbor, morning. I don't want your conniving morning. When you been a group home, you not been tell me morning. But now because you money down, you hustle for tell me morning. Why? Gio go girl, away you go. Lady Bunting walk over ya. Why Rich? How you doing? Albion, you too. You know Pablo? Hey, yeah man.
Are you ready?
And here's your cricket report. Despite most of the first 2 days being lost to rain in the first test match between West Indies and Zimbabwe at the Queen Sports Club in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, it turned out to be an eventful and often tense game. Choosing to bat first, Windies captain Craig Brathwaite and his new opening partner, Tejnarain Chanderpaul, put on a massive of 336 before Brathwaite fell LBW to Masekela. It was the first time a West Indian opening pair had passed the 300-run mark and eclipsed the previous record of 298 held by Desmond Haynes and Gordon Greenidge. In an effort to secure quick runs before the declaration, the Windies' middle order collapsed in the face of an outstanding spell of leg spin from Brandon Matuva, who picked up a career-best 5 for 140 in only his third test match. West Indies declared on 447 for 6, with Chanderpaul converting his maiden test century also in his third match, to a double to finish on 207 not out, surpassing his father Shivnarine Chanderpaul's best test score of 203 not out. Zimbabwe got off to a brilliant start with debutant opener Innocent Kea scoring 67, a patient knock of 137 not out from former England batsman Gary Ballance, playing in his first test for his home country, guided Zimbabwe past the follow on target. Matuva continued his dream debut by following up his 5-wicket haul with an important half-century at the bottom of the innings. 50s by Raymond Reefer and Jermaine Blackwood allowed the Windies to declare at 203 for 6 in their second innings, leaving Zimbabwe a target of 272 to win in a 1.5 sessions. Gudakesh Moti, playing in his second test, added a final bit of excitement to the proceedings. His 24 overs of left-hand spin gave the Zimbabwe dressing room a scare as he took 4 wickets for 50 runs, but the hosts were able to get to 134 for 6 and hang on to secure the draw.
It's that time again. The biggest party in sport is back. The defending champions is back. TK, are you ready? East, West, we the champions. North, South, we the champions. All road, we the champions. So we tell them this, we say East, West, we the champions. North, South, we the champions. All road, we the champions. So we tell them this, hey, you know that we run the road. Represent the country when we bowl them up. That's when we bowl them up. Hey, we stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me cause we bowl them up. That's when we bowl them. So we there for 6, yes, right them for 6. No set them I get licked, so we there for 6. Yes, right them for 6. No set them I get licked, so we there for 6. 6, 6, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. Even Miller tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. All I take it as a east, west, we's the champion. North, south, we's the champion. All north, we's the champion. So we tell them this, we say east, west, we's the champion. North, south, we's the champion. All north, we's the champion. So we tell them this, hey, you know that we run the roads, represent the country when we bowl them out. That's when we bowl them out. Hey, we stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me 'cause we bowl them out. That's when we bowl them. Darren Bravo, Colin Monroe, Dina Shamden, and Chrislin. Darren Bravo, Colin Monroe, Dina Shamden, and Chrislin. DKR, this is for you.
And that was the great vibes by DJ Bravo, Bowl Them Out. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Hi, I'm Jalen Taylor, and I would like to remind you to not drink and drive because many people lose their lives every day, so please be safe and responsible. This public service announcement is brought to you by CHMR.
To be a mentor, you don't have to have some special talent. That's why we're having some real-life mentors sing for us. Hit it, guys.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Thanks, that was awful. So remember, to mentor a child, you don't have to be perfect.
Row, row, row your...
Please stop. You just have to call Save the Children toll-free at 1-877-BA-MENTOR.
A message brought to you by Save the Children and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Vicki Morgan.
And I'm Josh Morgan.
And we're Mulberry Creek. Listen to the Mulberry Creek Hour on CHMR 93.5 at 5 o'clock on Tuesday afternoons or anywhere you get your favorite podcast.
We interview musicians from all over the world, and we're really funny.
I think we're funny.
I think we're funny.
And we do acoustic tunes from Mulberry Creek and from the musicians, and it's a laugh.
So listen to the Mulberry Creek Hour anywhere you get your podcasts and here on CHMR. Are you the kind of person who yells at the radio, "Don't tell me about the artist, I don't care where they grew up, just play the song"? If that's the case, then don't listen to my program. I'm Ivan Emke. On my show, Roots and Branches and Beyond, I like to explain where the sounds come from. So if you'd like to know a bit about what you're listening to, every Saturday morning at 11, CHMR 93.5 FM, music that knows where it's from.
Vous êtes branchés sur CHMR 93.5 FM, 103,7 sur le câble. La station alternative la plus sexy à Saint-Jean-de-Terre-Neuve.
Real time. Real audio. Real radio. www.mun.ca/CHMR.
Black Skin by Peter Jailal. My Santanton teacher read me the story, Scrubbing the Negro. And whenever I see a tub of boiling water, I cringe and I cry. Since ABC days, you see, I hated me. I always wanted to be clear. Clear, clear. White, white. Whiter than arty milk. Not black like a tar or black like bygone. Black like the ace of spades or black like the black foul shit. Low nation chamar. I cried, but I tried. Used White Pond's cold cream, Menen's talcum baby powder, stayed in the shade to wait and wonder. And when nobody is looking, I peep under my arm just to see the progress of my gradual change to whiteness. When all my efforts failed, I moved to cold white Canada. But when I returned home for a visit, they say, So you come back, look at you. You mean for tell we you live so long outside and you not even catch little color?
I'm bound to walk with the sun on my face again. Kiss kitty, singing away my pain. Ghosting across the Northland with my head up in a maze. Brown man chasing out the devil from Empire days. So long, trying to find my head and soul. So long for my wheel to roll. Dreams of gold and Shirley Temple, dead forevermore. John Wayne, Edward G. and Cagney won't fool me no more. Rising from cruel days of chain and flame, Caribbean man, think I know your name. And I will search to find the splinters of your ancient tree. Round the island wheel of jade they call Caribbean Sea. Jamaica down to Guyana shores, you know, was red man's land not so long ago. So all who live there now never forget the ancient way. It's Siba land, Piaima land you're building on today. If you're trying to catch the sun, Bushman will show you how that magic's done. Town men take away the blindfold, throw it from your eyes. Don't you dance like puppets underneath Caribbean skies. Bound to walk with the sun on my face again. I'm bound to walk with the sun on my face again. I'm bound to walk with the sun on my face again.
And the poem we just heard was read by Didan Ashanta. She was reading Black Skin by Peter Jailal, followed up with Guyanese Canadian living in British Columbia, David Campbell and Caribbean Man. We'll be right back, folks. Stay with us.
When you wish for something wonderful to happen.
What is the power of a wish?
Sometimes it can make you forget about the needles and the pain and get through this thing.
Wishes are what we do.
Forget about being stuck inside. Laugh with my family. Go somewhere really amazing and get through this thing.
The Children's Wish Foundation of Canada. Call 1-888-267-WISH or visit childrenswish.ca today.
a hole in the roof where the rain came through. What can you do? Tears from your little sister, crying because she doesn't have a dress without a patch for the party to go. Oh, but you know, she get by, cause she's living in the love of the common people. Smiles through the heart of a family man. That is gonna buy her a drink to cling to. Mama's gonna love her just as much as she can, and she can. It's a good thing you don't have bus fare. It would fall through the hole in your pocket and you lose it in the snow on the ground. You gotta walk in the town to find a job, trying to keep your hands warm. But the hole in the shoe let the snow come through and chills it to the bone. So now you better go home where it's warm. You can live in the love of the common people. Smiles through the heart of the family man. God is gonna buy you a drink to cling to. Mama's gonna love it just as much as she can, and she can. The lip, the tighter the fit, and the chill stay away. Take 'em in stride, the family crowd. You know that faith is your foundation. Oh, let the love and the warm conversation, boy, don't forget to pray. Just make it strong where you belong, so you can live in the love of the common people. Smiles through the heart of a family man. God is gonna buy you a dream to cling to. Mama's gonna love it just as much as she can, and she can. Living in the love of the common people, smiles through the heart of the family man. That is gonna buy you a dream to cling to.
Say me no like them kind of Babylon. Say me no dig them kind of wicked men. For I'm a righteous Rasta man, and I am a dread one-eye man. I and I going beat down Babylon. I and I going beat down Babylon. I and I must whip them wicked men. I and I must whip them wicked men. Oh, what a wicked situation. I and I starving. This might cause a revolution and a dangerous pollution. I and I going beat down Babylon. I and I must beat down Babylon. I and I going whip them wicked men. I and I going beat down Babylon. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Whip them, Lord, whip them, Lord, whip them, Lord, whip them, Lord, whip. Oh, what a wicked situation. I and I dying for salvation. This may cause a revolution and a dangerous pollution. I and I must beat down Babylon. I and I going beat down Babylon. I and I must beat down Babylon. I and I must whip them wicked men. Wicked. Them, Lord, them, Lord, them, Lord, them, Lord, them.
So that was Junior Biles and Beat Down Babylon. And before we heard the one and only, the great vibes of Nicky Thomas and Love of the Common People. Well, folks, we have come to the end of today's program, but don't despair. We're going to be back next week to celebrate another day of Black History Month here. So stick with us. Join us again next week, same time, 1 p.m. in Newfoundland, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Same place. You could reach us on the local dial, 93.5 FM, Rogers Cable, 942, and Bell Alliant, 787 on your TV, or everywhere and anywhere, anytime at www.chmr.ca. Stay well, be kind, take care of yourselves and of each other. And we're going to have Queen Africa and Lioness on the Rise to take us out today. See you next week, and bye for now.
Are you ready? 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 When the roll is called out, I'll be standing taller to face the darkest and the hardest of times. We'll be taking care of all the children thereof, but if it's required, we'll be on the front line. You can call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told. Call me anytime, never cop out. Lioness is on the rise, don't you ever have doubt. Never say never, willingness forever to fight and be strong. Once it's for better, I'll write every letter and moving right along. And I'll roll with the punches, accept changes, work with the formula, do what I have to do, and call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told. Call me anytime, never clock out. Lioness is on the rise, don't you ever have doubt. When you are willing to serve, we have room to observe, to see if you can walk the walk you took. Let me give you my word, my voice must be heard. Bravery is a piece of my heart. Call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told. Call me anytime, never cop out. A lioness is on the rise, don't ever have no doubt. When the roll is called up, we'll be standing taller to face the darkest and the hardest of times. We'll be taking care of all the children thereof, but if it's required, we'll be on the front line. You can call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told. Call me, never, anytime. Lioness is on the run. Don't you ever call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told. Call me anytime, never cop out. A lioness is on the run. Don't you ever ready to roll. Call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told.